Have you ever noticed something strange? Every time you achieve something you've wanted for months, maybe even years, the feeling disappears faster than you expected. You hit the goal, you get the promotion, you make the money, you lose the weight, you launch the project, and for a moment, maybe an hour, maybe a day, you feel incredible. You finally did it. You finally arrived. Then the voice comes back, okay, what's next? And suddenly, what once felt impossible doesn't feel like enough anymore. Why does this happen? Why do so many successful people still feel empty? Why do people who seem to have everything continue chasing more? And what if the problem isn't your ambition? What if the problem is the game you've been playing your entire life? Most people think the feeling of not enough is motivation. They think it's what keeps them growing, keeps them improving, keeps them moving forward. But what if that's not true? What if the feeling that says you're behind, that says you haven't achieved enough, earned enough, become enough, isn't actually helping you? What if it's trapping you? Let's start at the surface. You set a goal. Maybe it's a certain income, a better body, a successful business, a relationship, a dream you've been chasing for years. The moment you set that goal, something wakes up inside you. You feel focused. You feel driven. You feel alive. You work harder than most people. You sacrifice. You stay disciplined. You keep going while others quit. And eventually, you get there. Then something strange happens. The satisfaction fades. Not slowly, fast. You thought the goal would make you feel complete. You thought it would prove something. You thought it would finally silence the voice in your head. But it doesn't. So you do what most people do. You set another goal. A bigger one. A harder one. One that will finally prove you're enough. And the cycle begins again. It's like climbing a mountain. You spend years struggling to reach the top. Then the moment you arrive, you immediately start searching for a taller mountain. Not because you enjoy the view, because standing still feels uncomfortable. Because when you stop moving, you have to sit with yourself. And that's where things get interesting. Because the feeling of not being enough didn't start with your goals. It started much earlier. Nobody's born feeling inadequate. No child enters the world believing they're behind. That feeling is learned. Slowly, quietly. Over time, maybe it happened when you were compared to someone else. Maybe it happened when approval depended on performance. Maybe it happened when praise only came after achievement. Maybe it happened when you felt like love had to be earned. Then social media arrived and made everything worse. Now, comparison is available 24 hours a day. You don't compare yourself occasionally anymore. You compare yourself constantly. And here's the problem. You compare your inside to someone else's outside. Think about that. You compare your doubts, fears, mistakes, insecurities, and unfinished work to someone else's highlight reel, someone else's best moments, someone else's carefully edited reality. And you lose every time. Not because you're failing, because the comparison itself is impossible. You are comparing behind-the-scenes footage to a movie trailer, a rough draft to a finished product, real life to marketing, and yet your brain keeps doing it. You see someone succeeding, and something inside you immediately asks, why am I not there yet? Suddenly your own progress feels smaller. Your own achievements feel less impressive. Your own life feels behind. Behind who? Behind what? Usually behind an imaginary timeline that doesn't actually exist. Quick question. Have you ever achieved something you once desperately wanted, only to feel strangely empty afterward? If the answer is yes, you're not alone. Millions of people are experiencing the exact same thing. They just don't talk about it. Now, let's go deeper. There's another trap most people never notice. The moving goalpost. Maybe you've experienced it. You wanted to make a certain amount of money, then you achieved it. Suddenly, the number doubled. You wanted to lose weight. Then you wanted abs. You wanted a relationship. Then you wanted the perfect relationship. You wanted recognition. Then you wanted more recognition. The goal keeps moving. The finish line keeps shifting. And the strange part is that you move it before you even arrive. Before you reach the target, your brain creates a new target. Before you celebrate, your brain creates another challenge. Before you feel satisfied, your brain tells you there's more to do. You are running a race where the finish line keeps moving. And the person moving it is you. That's not ambition. That's a trap. And your brain is perfectly designed to create it. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. But here's the simple version. Your brain adapts to everything. Everything. The salary that once felt life-changing eventually feels normal. The body you worked years to build eventually feels normal. The dream relationship eventually feels normal. The achievement you once obsessed over becomes part of everyday life. Your brain files it away under one word, normal. And once something becomes normal, it stops creating the emotional reward you expected. That's not because you're broken. That's because your brain was built for survival, not satisfaction. Survival requires constant scanning. What's next? What's missing? What's dangerous? What's better? The system is designed to keep moving, not to sit still and celebrate, which means something important. The feeling you're chasing was never designed to stay. Let that sink in. The feeling of finally arriving, the feeling of finally being enough, the feeling of permanent satisfaction, your brain literally isn't built to maintain it. And that's why so many people reach extraordinary levels of success and still feel empty. They're chasing a feeling that disappears by design. And if this video is making you see yourself differently, take a second to hit the like button. Not for me, for the reminder that you're not the only person fighting this battle. Now we arrive at the deepest layer, the invisible standard. Most people spend their entire lives trying to become enough, but almost nobody stops to define what enough actually means. Enough according to who? Enough compared to whom? Enough based on what standard? Most people don't know, because they never created the standard. They inherited it. From parents, from teachers, from culture, from social media, from strangers, from expectations that were never theirs to begin with. They're trying to pass a test that has no grading system, a race with no finish line, a game with no ending. And that's why they never feel successful, because success was never clearly defined. Here's the truth. You don't need to stop growing. You don't need to lower your standards. You don't need to stop pursuing meaningful goals. But you do need to define enough. What does enough look like in your career? What does enough look like in your health? What does enough look like in your relationships? What does enough look like in your life? Because if you don't define it, your brain will keep moving it forever. More money, more success, more recognition, more achievement, more. And you'll spend your entire life chasing a finish line that doesn't exist. The real shift happens when you understand something simple. The voice never completely disappears. That voice that says you're behind, that voice that says you're not enough, that voice that says you should be doing more. It may always be there. But once you recognize it, you stop treating it as truth. You start treating it as noise. An old recording, an outdated program, a story that once protected you, but no longer serves you. And in that moment, something changes. You stop running from yourself. You stop proving yourself. You stop building your entire identity around achievement. You realize that drive and desperation are not the same thing. Drive says, I want to build something meaningful. Desperation says, I need to prove I'm worth something. Drive is calm. Desperation is frantic. Drive creates. Desperation consumes. And many people spend their entire lives confusing the two. So before you leave, I want you to answer one question. What does enough actually mean to you? Not what society says. Not what social media says. Not what your parents wanted. You define it, write it down, make it real. Because until you define enough, nothing ever will be. And the next time you achieve something, don't rush to the next mountain. Don't immediately ask what's next. Pause for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. Let yourself feel it. Let yourself appreciate it. Let yourself acknowledge how far you've come, because that isn't weakness. That isn't complacency. That's wisdom. Maybe the problem isn't that you're not enough. Maybe the problem is that you never decided what enough means. And until you do, you'll keep chasing something that can never be caught. Subscribe to Mr. No Excuses for more psychology, human behavior, and life-changing insights. And remember, you don't need to become someone else to be valuable. You only need to stop measuring yourself with a ruler you never chose.